So today we'll be considering the spiritual quality of will. The Sunday school, our kids in Sunday school, children's Sunday school, are learning basically about these spiritual qualities. And so this is a Sunday school sheet. And on the sheet it says August. I remember that God's will for me is always good and only good. Gray is to remind us of the mind power of will. Matthew, the disciple of Matthew, is a disciple who represents will. A winning rule is I choose the greatness of God. The greatness of God. Not what my will, but thine be done, is the Bible verse. Then, so these not only are we learning these spiritual mind powers, but also our children. And once we began using these mind powers, these spiritual qualities, we find, and I've said this every month, probably in between times, more than once a month, and I'll probably continue to say this, but whenever we're faced with any kind of a challenge, I don't care what you name the challenge, whenever we're faced with a challenge, it's at least 2 of these 12 spiritual mind powers come into play. And when we understand and begin to be working with these spiritual mind powers, we find that we really have the wherewithal, along with prayer, of course, meditation, but we have the wherewithal to be overcomers of that challenge, okay? Because they always work, these mind powers always work in twos. Always work in twos, okay? So today, even though we're going to talk about will, the spiritual faculty of will, we've already talked about understanding. And will and understanding go hand in hand. The two, hand in hand. So anyway, it becomes a really exciting challenge when we begin to develop these spiritual mind powers, because we begin to understand knowing and working with what we can overcome and the enlightenment that comes. Okay, I've been a student of the 12 spiritual faculties, mind powers, whatever you want to call them, for more than a day or two. Okay, it's been many years. And I just think, the growth, our growth proceeds in just the measure in which we realize and begin incorporating these truths. Unity is not a teaching or a religion once a week, 1 hour a week, where you come to church like all good people should on a Sunday morning, and then you go home, leave here, and forget. If you want changes in your life, we taught over and over again, if you want changes in your life, we need to change our thinking. And we're the only ones that can do that. No one else. No one else can do it for us. So anyway, again, I want to just mention that these 12 qualities are used in developing a harmonious, and I did say harmonious growth in every one of us, and all of us. It's our job. It's really our responsibility to develop these 12 spiritual mind powers. They're God-given potentials to re-educate. We all have love. We all express love. We have love within us. Okay, but really, how do we love? How do we express that love? I had someone the other day say, well, I know my mother loved me, but it was always on condition. Okay, I see heads kind of, yeah, right. Okay. But when we develop the quality of love, the spiritual quality of love, it turns to be a more fulfilling experience. We have already covered love. We've covered power, imagination, understanding, faith, strength, and wisdom. We've already covered those in the past X number of months, okay? So, anyway, I guess I got off track, so forgive me. Anyway, one way or another, we're using our will. And sometimes our will is willful. It's going to be my way or the highway. It's going to be what I want, regardless of the consequences. Okay. I'm going to ask you a question, and I don't want to see heads going one way or the other. No. I'm not even going to look at you. But anyway, how often have you exercised your personal will and ran up against a brick wall and said, "Whoa, what happened?" Anyway, we probably all have. We're honest. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that anymore. We have this will, the spiritual quality within us that we can ask for direction. We can ask to be. I said understanding and will work together, okay? We can pray, Father, show me how, what is for the highest good of myself or everybody else, whatever the case may be. So understanding, we need to understand, not just see what's there, and we want it. We want to accomplish that. We want to do it. We want to have it. We want to whatever we want. But to make sure that we're in sync with that, with God mind, with the spiritual will, with spiritual will. And so, we can we choose a course of action. And that's understanding. We get an idea, and we want to do that. Okay, that's personal will. When we incorporate understanding with will, then we're open. Then we really have a choice. And I want to tell you again, remind all of us that God's will for us is only good. Only good. And I know that some of us have been raised to or taught that God is a vengeful God. That's not true. That absolutely is not true. When we come to the point where we can really accept God as a God of love and faith and all the rest of the good stuff and wants only good for us, we drop away all those shackles that hold us back, that have held us back in the past. Okay. I probably shared this with you sometime, but one Sunday, a person was here for Sunday service, and after service, a person came to me and said, "I want to talk to you a minute, and I want to explain something." I said, "Okay, fine." He said, "You probably have noticed when we pray the Lord's Prayer, I never say, 'Thy will be done.'" I said, "No, to be honest with you, I don't check people out. I don't. It's your business, I mean, if you want to say all of it, none of it, part of it, say it backwards. I don't care." Anyway, he said, "The reason I don't is because I'm afraid if I say, 'Thy will be done,' God's will be done, he might strike me dead." He said, "I want to get under the pew because I have this." And he was not joking with me. At first, I thought he was joking with me. He was not joking. He brought it right out in the open, that this idea that some of us may be still carrying, okay? That is God absolute? Does God mean absolute good in our life or not? And only you can answer that. And it takes some thinking through and some praying to come to the point of saying yes. Yes, God has only good for me, and I'm willing to accept that. But when we're in a situation or whatever, and we say, "Well, either this or that," Check consciousness. Check consciousness and see. Are you absolutely sure that you're saying, I'm willing for the will of God to come through here, or are you really deep down thinking this or that? Well, I'm not going to be responsible, so, where's understanding come in? It doesn't. Okay, understanding out the window. It's either this or that. No, it's not this or that. It is the right thing. Does that make sense to you? It's the right thing that we want, not just anything. If you want just anything, quit praying. And then, you may be shocked or surprised, whatever. But we have the ability to join with those spiritual qualities, so that it isn't just our will, but we know that when we incorporate that will, Father, show me, Father, tell me, Father, direct me, I'm listening. Okay? And then we go forward and we can be assured that it isn't my will and that's it, but it's God's will moving through, making the crooked places straight, making what's right, and for us to understand that. I'm looking at my notes because I've got them all jumbled up now, so. I've shared so many times here about my grandpa and what a marvelous, wonderful metaphysician he was. And one of the things that he would say to me, Donnie, make sure that you don't create God in your image and likeness. God created you in His image and likeness. So don't try to create God in your image and likeness, okay? Don't, what he was saying is, and of course a little, when I was pretty little, pretty young, I'd say, okay, Grandpa, no, I won't. I didn't have the foggiest idea what he was talking about. I do now. I know now what he's talking about, because we have a tendency to think that God is up there someplace, and that God doles out, if we're good kids, good, maybe, but if we haven't been so good, okay, that's an old concept. That's using God's will, or seeing God's will as being just a hindsight first. That's not God's will. So excuse me. So we have the wonderful opportunity and responsibility to get in touch with these spiritual mind powers and to develop them. Not my will, Father, but your will. What would you have me to do? Not my will. This is in my thinking, this is what I believe that I need or want or whatever. Father, you show me. You show me your will for me. And when we stand on solid ground, knowing that God's will is only good, we're not doing a soft shoe back and forth. We're standing firm, open and receptive to that which is ours by divine right, whatever that might be, by divine right. So we all know, and I've said so many times here, we all know that we can push, shove, and heave and cause anything to happen. I've done it. And then when it happens, I think, whoa, what have I done here? What have I got here? Okay? It may not be what I originally thought it should be. But if I take time and rely on the Spirit of God to direct me, willing, not willful, but willing toward that I shouldn't say super, that's what we say to the kids. Erase that. But that mind power, that God power, that infinite intelligence, we can't go wrong. We don't go wrong. We can't go wrong. Okay? Because we are infilled with something more than the human consciousness can comprehend. Something totally, including so much more. And that God's plan then begins, which is our plan, begins to work out in our life, in our affairs, in our body temple, that which concerns us. So, excuse me. So we need to awaken, I would say, to this truth that there is within us not only that God power, that infinite intelligence, but also it expresses through us as 12 spiritual qualities out into our world. Next month, when we talk about one of the spiritual mind powers, I have a diagram that when I teach, I love teaching a class because we can, on the 12 powers, because we can really get into it, okay, really get into it. I can't in an hour, but anyway, I just kind of gloss over it. But I have a diagram that you might be interested in, and I will have it next month when we do one of the 12 powers. I tried to make a copy of it. It happens to be on pink paper, and it didn't come out very well. And our secretary's on vacation, and Donna doesn't know how to do it. So there. But we will have it next time because she'll be back from vacation. God's will for me is good. Why don't we take that? And I'd like for you to think about it. You know, if you don't want to say it, that's fine. That's up to you. But I'd like for you to think about it. God's will for me is good. Together? God's will for me is good. More good than I can begin to imagine my human thinking. More good than I can begin to imagine in my human thinking. Together? More good than I can begin to imagine in my human thinking. You see, God has so much good for us that we don't accept, okay? Because going back again to my will, okay? And so how in the world, and couple this with understanding, okay? How in the world do you expect to be open and to receive more of God's new good? I said new good. When we're not open, when you're not open, when you're into a groove of this is the way it is, and this is the way it's been, and this is the way it's going to stay. You know what I'm talking about? No, that's not the way it is. That's not. It can stay that way because we name it and keep it that way. It doesn't need to be. It does not need to be. The will determines the moment. Your will determines this moment. Understanding decrees the direction you're going in. I'm checking the clock. Developing the faculty of will in a spiritual way must be done not uptight and whatever, but relaxed, at peace, open, receptive. Okay. And with a sure knowingness that God's will is good and only good, and you are open and receptive to that which God has for you. That which God has for you. I can almost hear the wheels turning. Like thinking about what God has for you. Yes, yes, yes. And allow them to continue to turn. Let me see. What else? I have notes all over the place here. I love to teach the 12 spiritual faculties because I know the value that they can be in each person's life. But anyway, I just have two. I get preparing a 12 faculty lesson. And I can go on and on and on and on and on. So forgive me for having too many notes and whatever. Let's take a couple of minutes, and I'm going to share with you some affirmations. If you'd care to join in, I will say them first, and then I will repeat it the second time. If you care to join in, you certainly may. If you want to write them down, you can do that too. You want do whatever you want to do. Anyway, excuse me. I am willing to learn God's way. I am willing to learn God's way for me. Together? I am willing to learn God's way for me. God's way for me is good. Together? God's way for me is good. God works in me to will and to do that which He would have me do. Take a minute and think about that. God works in me to do that which, He would have me do. Together. God works in me to will and to do that which He would have me do, and God cannot fail. And God cannot fail. That's true. That's true. Not my will, but thine be done in all things. Together? Not my will, but thine be done in all things. So let's take a moment now, and I'd like to, for our meditation, we're going to go through the 12 spiritual mind powers and where they're found in the physical body. And we do this at the close of every 12-power session, so that we're all we're all on the same page in sync. Okay. So I take this moment, the next few moments, and I always suggest that you relax and remind yourself that you are in a safe place. You can accept that which makes sense to you and release that which doesn't. It's just that simple. Accept that which is for your highest good. Release the rest. And I like to think about closing our eyes and in this quietness, this silence, we prepare for an infilling, illumination perhaps, for this opportunity to again speak the truth of our being through every center of our awareness, of our consciousness, of our being. So we start with right at the top of the head. We place our attention to the crown of the head, and we refer to this area as the Christ center. And we say, the Christ of God is awakened in me. The Christ of God is awakened in me. Together, the Christ of God is awakened in me. And just gently and lovingly hold your attention there at the crown of the head. And if you choose to, just quietly or mentally, the Christ of God is awakened in me. All of these spiritual faculties are under the direction and the inspiration and the development of the Christ consciousness. And now drop your attention to the solar plexus, the seat of the subconscious mind, and affirm, I am grateful that the Christ of God is awakened in me. Think about those words for a minute. I am grateful that the Christ of God is awakened in me. And the solar plexus, that awakening, that stirring that activity, that divine activity. I am grateful that the Christ of God is awakened in me. Together, I am grateful that the Christ of God is awakened in me. And now we go to the faith center, and the focus of our attention travels upward to the pineal gland in the middle of the head. The faith center in the middle of the head, and gently say, the Christ faculty of faith is quickened in me. I have unquestioning faith in God the good. The Christ faculty of faith is quickened in me. Together, the Christ faculty of faith is quickened in me. I have unquestioning faith in God the good. And just hold your attention there, in the center of the head, the faith faculty. Now feel the focus of your attention dropping through your body to the lower back. The Christ faculty of strength is quickened in me. I am strong and unafraid. The Christ faculty of faith is quickened in me. I am strong and unafraid. And lovingly, quietly, bring your attention up to the heart area, the love center. We focus our attention in that area behind the heart, the love center. And we say, the Christ faculty of love is quickened in me. I am love. The Christ faculty of love is quickened in me. I am love. And we move our attention again to the solar plexus, to the wisdom, area of wisdom. The Christ faculty of wisdom is quickened in me. Gently, lovingly, you're calling forth these 12 spiritual powers to be awakened and to do the perfect work through you, into your life, into your affairs, into your body temple. So in the solar plexus, the Christ faculty of wisdom is quickened in me. I am guided into wise and right action. Now gently bring your attention upward through the body, to the throat, or the root of the tongue. The root of the tongue. The power faculty. The Christ faculty of power is quickened in me. My thoughts and words vibrate with power. The Christ faculty of power is quickened in me. My thoughts and words vibrate with power. And now, imagination. Upward again to a spot between the eyes, the imaging faculty, imagination. The Christ faculty of imagination is quickened in me. I see new and creative ways of doing what is mine to do. The Christ faculty of imagination is quickened in me. I see new and creative ways of doing that which is mine to do. Understanding. Move your attention up slightly to the forehead. Easy. Easy, easy is the name. We don't push. We just gently move the attention from one spiritual faculty to the next. The Christ faculty of understanding is quickened in me. I see the heart of things and know what to do. The Christ faculty of understanding is quickened in me. I see to the heart of things and know what to do. The faculty of will, spiritual will. We hold the attention there in the forehead because will and understanding work together. And we say the Christ faculty of will is quickened in me and yields to the direction of the Christ. The Christ faculty of will is quickened in me and yields to the direction of the Christ. And Father, we are so grateful. We are so grateful to know that we have these 12 wonderful, wonderful spiritual qualities that is ours to use under the direction of that Christ presence, the Spirit of God, to use in our life and affairs, and to know that we are divinely directed for each one of these, done, held in love and peace. And so it is.